Greetings, enlightened ones. Thank you for joining your generic store brand Reverend today. In today's video, we're going to be going over the toxicity within the 5.0 Coyote community. You're probably wondering why your Reverend isn't wearing his clergy shirt today. Well, you know, it's Sunday. I decided to take a little bit of a vacation from the persona today. And honestly, this is going to be a little bit of a serious video, a little bit of passion behind it, all right? So we are here at Dignity Cemetery. This is over here by Woodlands. This is actually a pretty nice filming location, very quiet, very peaceful. The reason why I chose this location is not only for that, but I feel like two communities that watch me now, whether it be the car community or, you know, car enthusiasts or goth guys, goth gals, the goth community. You know, as you guys know, I voiced my concerns and opinions on a lot of things within the goth community. So I feel like I have kind of like two communities that watch me all at once. So I feel like the cemetery was the perfect place, perfect environment to do this. And I feel like I may do a lot more of my car videos here from now on until I find another good location, only because, you know, like I said, I don't get messed with. It's very quiet here. It allows me to focus on the topics that I'm talking about here today. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the topic of today. Yeah, I got a bone to pick with some of you Ford community people. You know, I thought this was like one for one and one for all type of thing, kumbaya, whatever the hell you want to call it, you know. Because us Ford people got to stick together, you know, versus the Chevy community or versus the Dodge community, right? I don't understand what it is with the community, but there's always been this sort of dogma within its community in terms of the whole 5.0 versus 4.6 crowd. 3-valve is slow, 5.0 is faster. You know, obviously you can't really defute that argument, right? Obviously the 5.0 is still clearly a better platform when it comes to modifications, power output, right? Like, I'm not arguing that. And you know, this is kind of a video to clarify a little bit of my previous video on the 4.6, right? Because a lot of people are thinking like I'm kind of, I guess, talking shit on the 5.0 platform in itself, which is far from it. Honestly, I respect the 5.0, I respect the Coyote community, but for whatever reason, the 5.0 community can't seem to respect the 3-valve community. I've seen this a lot within forums. They always like to, you know, us guys that prefer this platform and, you know, really enjoy this platform, you know, when we voice how we appreciate this platform, we're called stupid or retarded. We're not, you know, it's slow. Why do you want to put your money into it? Why don't just 5.0 swap it, you know? It's a shitty platform. Why do you want to spend all your time and your effort on it? It's extremely slow. You're never going to make power, or you're just gonna blow a rod. You know, I hear all these arguments all the damn time. It's like beating a dead horse when these people in this community keep saying the same damn shit over and over and over again. Beating a dead horse, honestly. And I'm just gonna say it. I understand that this platform is probably for a more mature crowd versus the 5.0 community. And that's not to say those of you that do have a 5.0 that you're immature or, you know, that you're lesser than me, because that's exactly not my point here. I stand very neutral within these two platforms. Like, if you like the 5.0, that's totally fine, that's great. If you like the 4.6, awesome, that's great as well. But I've never bashed anybody for liking the 5.0. I don't really understand what it is with these guys, but they seem to just really hit it home that you have a slow car and that you need to get rid of it and you need to get into the 5.0 shit. Humans are very tribalistic by nature. If it ain't from politics to what you wear, to what you have, your finances, you are pretty much going to be the black sheep of the crowd. You know, I've talked about things like this within the goth community for that matter. It's the same thing. If you don't conform to their political beliefs, therefore you are going to be the odd man out, and those types of people are just going to talk shit about you. They ain't gonna like what you have, they aren't gonna appreciate what you have. And it's no different from the whole 4.6 versus 5.0 stuff, right? In a perfect world, I would love for us to just get along in terms of the Ford community and just respect one another's like platform decision. I just don't understand why it is we have to be children about this and have this whole the 5.0 is better than the 4.6 when it's quite clearly a preference base, you know? I have mentioned in my previous video why I don't really like the 5.0. And the main number one reason is simply because I don't like the way it sounds. There's very few people in the 5.0 community that know actually how to dial in the exhaust system just right by putting the right long tube header shorties or X-pipe, H-pipe, or whatever it may be. Like I said, I don't really care about the 5.0 platform that much, so I haven't really researched it well enough to understand what exhaust system will sound the best. But I have heard a few 5.0s on the road, and they do actually sound pretty decent. Still not my cup of tea though. But most people that get a 5.0 don't know how to dial in the exhaust system very well, and you get this nasty high-pitched raspy crap that comes out of the exhaust. In my opinion, does not sound very good. But there are some people that know how to dial it in just right, where you do get a little bit of the raspiness and it still sounds pretty, I guess, rumbly, like a classic old school V8 like the 4.6 produces, which I give you guys props for, because that's how it should be done right. The other reason why I don't like the 5.0 platform either is because it's overdone. Everybody swaps the 5.0 into every car imaginable out there, so it's kind of an overdone project, and that's why I appreciate this motor a lot more than most people, because of the fact that nobody wants to actually spend the money to actually make power out of these 4.6s, because they are capable of making 1,000 horsepower. And they're lighter at that too. They're a lot lighter than a 5.0. I will say the cool thing about the 5.0 platform is that it will plug and play into this car no problem. Again though, it's not the ideal platform that I so choose to actually mess with it. Literally the whole reason why I have a sticker on my car that links to my Instagram, 3V Reanimated, is because I came up with a clever way to kind of bring a motor back from the grave that nobody appreciates. Obviously, with the introduction of the 5.0, it pretty much killed the 4.6. Everybody wanted a 5.0. Everybody wanted to go to the 5.0. Everybody pretty much didn't give a shit about the 4.6 anymore. And so that is why I called my Instagram channel, and at one point my YouTube was also called 3V Reanimated, but you know, my YouTube now is kind of digressed into a multitude of differing things now, so I kind of just do it on a bunch of other topics and things. Honestly, it's more of a channel geared towards just me in general, so that's why I got rid of the 3V Reanimated YouTube channel and just kind of leave that as its own separate thing for Instagram, right? But yeah, that's why my Instagram name is called 3V Reanimated, is because I want to bring this motor back from the dead. That's why you see all the skeleton shit on it as well, because I thought it kind of fit the motif of, you know, a dead car that nobody appreciates. I think the 5.0 really gained a lot of attraction with the introduction of the S550, which ranges from 2015 to 2023. Personally, I never liked those cars, and the reason for it is because they're too European for me. Ford at this time was actually redesigning these cars to fit for the European market, because it was their first time ever actually marketing towards the European. So Ford had to basically redesign this whole retro look and make it look more European. Just kind of like you've seen in the SN95s, the early SN95s. I used to have a 98 Mustang, and you know, one would argue those cars are pretty ugly too, but they grew on me because I had a 3.8 and I loved the damn car, you know, because I drove it, right? So Ford is in this time period right now where they're completely just full sending the European look, and it's, again, like I said, it's because they're tailoring towards the Europeans. And there, you know, there's a lot of Americans that even like the S550 for the way it looks. I personally think the S550 is a little ugly in my opinion. You know, if you actually compare a Ford Focus of 2015 and then compare it to a Mustang of 2015, you will see that the front ends on those cars are pretty much very identical. It's like a more sportier version of the Ford Focus. I just don't think it looks very Mustang though to me. That's why I never got into the S550s, because they're just too European for me. That's not what an American car is supposed to look like. This, in my opinion, is what an American car should look like. Hard body lines, square headlights, circular fog lights. Everything about this car screams 60s. At least a tribute to the 68 fastback, right? And I think Ford did a phenomenal job on this design. But on the S550, everything is very sleek and narrow and very aerodynamic, which is a good thing in terms of being that the 5.0 is a heavy engine in itself. I think Ford also needed to think about aerodynamics, because yes, I will say the one negative thing about these retro cars or this retro styling is everything is boxed. It's literally a fucking brick, and everybody actually makes fun of these cars because it is literally a non-aerodynamic brick. These things literally, it's like hitting a brick wall of air, because there's nothing aerodynamic about this car. It's very square, very rectangular, and that is one thing that fails in terms of, I guess, building power through aerodynamics. But where these cars actually have been shining lately is that a lot of people are starting to pick these cars up now because they've become so cheap, and actually they're now starting to make these into drift cars now. I don't want to make my car into necessarily a drift car, but I do want to make it for more track and corner carving, like I had mentioned, like going to the mountains and really cutting into those corners and you feel like you're bolstered in your seat. I think that's a very fun feeling, and that's kind of where I'm building this car for. Now I understand the 5.0 is going to be the superior engine in terms of cheap, reliable power. You know, you could pick up a Gen 1 Coyote now for what, less than $1,000 now if you know where to look on Marketplace. I mean, MT82, probably another $1,000 right there, including the harness, which will probably be another $600 to almost $1,000. So you can literally get into a 5.0 into these cars for about a little over $3,000, right? That's some cheap, really good power for 400 horsepower, right? Not only that, with the introduction of the S550, you also had independent suspension. So I can quite clearly see why the 5.0, everybody's into the 5.0 platform and getting rid of this crappy solid rear axle, right? And the fact that they are dual overhead cam means you do get more top end power. So again, another positive aspect of the 5.0. I feel like the 5.0 community that says the same overdone, oversaid thing about the 3-valve being trash, why do you have that, that thing is slow, are probably going to be either white boy trust fund baby types or the Tequachicas that look like fucking clone troopers from fucking Clone Wars. If it's one thing that makes me feel very safe within my brothers of clones is making sure that my haircut looks exactly like the rest of my brothers. Also, I need to make sure that I have a slam Chevy Silverado from 2005. And then you have the white boy trust fund babies, which have also been given everything to them in life by mommy and daddy, including that nice, beautiful S550 5.0 Mustang, right? And then they want to conform like all the rest of their white boy friends. So they're obviously going to talk shit on the 4.6 as well because it's, well, dogmatic by nature, right? That whole tribalism thing as we've talked about. Whether it's the No Cuz or the white boy trust fund babies or hell, anybody else aside from those groups of people. And no, I'm not saying everybody within those communities obviously act like this. Honestly, that was just my little comedic skit, but you get where I'm coming from, right? I don't know, maybe it's because I just have low expectations of what I like in life. Like, I'm not somebody that has to have the fastest thing in the world. I don't have to have the nicest thing in the world either. You know, when I saw this car, this body style, I didn't care how fast it was. I didn't care what engine was in it. I just liked the look of the car. After I did some more research into the 4.6 and how great they sound in terms of the exhaust, I had to have one. It was literally how these cars sound and the reliability that these cars have is the whole reason why I respect this platform so much. Now, I'm probably never going to convince the 5.0 community to ever understand why I like the 4.6 so much, but understand that the only reason why I like these cars so much is its styling, its sound, and how easy it is to work on these engines, and its reliability. That's literally the main reasons why I like it so much, aside from it being a good cruiser as well. I made a lot of these talking points already within my previous video on my Mustang, so I'm really not going to go too into depth with that. But this car is timeless by its look and its design, and I don't think you're ever going to get that same appreciation within the S550 for that matter. Give it another 10, 15 years, and I guarantee you people are going to be looking at this car a lot more than the S550 ever will. Again, that is a personal opinion, but just judging by how much compliments I've had on this car alone, I don't think you'll ever really get the same amount of appreciation as you will, at least from a more mature crowd in that matter, right? I feel like most people that are into the S550 realm, they're a little bit younger. They don't really quite understand what it is to actually be a car enthusiast. I believe most people that probably talk shit within the 5.0 community aren't real car enthusiasts, because those that are actually car enthusiasts or those that are actually mature within the 5.0 community or even 3-valve community for that matter, because I know there's going to be some 3-valve guys that are going to be talking shit on 5.0 people too, but the 5.0 community specifically are very ruthless in having to voice their opinions on how this car is dog shit and it's trash. Because those that actually get into these older Mustangs, I feel, are more of a more mature crowd versus the S550, which the S550 crowd are a little bit more younger. They get into those cars at the ages of like in their early 20s. And, you know, maybe at one point, you know, I was too young to remember, but maybe those that were in their 20s were starting to get into these cars thinking they're the fastest thing in the world, and everybody hated these cars, and it was all about the new Edge SN95s, and these cars were dog shit at the time, you know. But, you know, you drive a 2-valve, well, I drive a 3-valve. I don't know if this dogma, this stigma has always been around, you know, but I'd like to think that at least there was some amount of respect for one another's engine platform of choice, whether it be 2-valve or 3-valve back then, even though they were pretty much the same damn engine other than the fact that they had different heads on them. Anyways, guys, at the end of the day, whether or not you're Team 5.0 or Team 3-valve or Team 2-valve, if any of you New Edge guys are out there, we're pretty much one and the same entity. We all like Ford vehicles. I still appreciate the 5.0, even though you may not appreciate me for having the 4.6 or liking the 4.6. I'm still going to respect your decision and what you like, no matter what dog shit you sling my way. Hell, and I literally had a coworker always talk shit on me every day that also had a 5.0 that was all like, oh, well, you have a 3-valve. When the hell are you going to get rid of it, man? When are you going to get a 5.0 swap in it? Or when are you going to get rid of it and just get an S550? And it's like, bro, I don't care about the 5.0. Everybody has a 5.0, whether it be in a Fox body, in these cars, in an SN95. There's nothing unique about 5.0 swapping anything anymore. It's all overdone. It's all the same shit. You know what would be more unique? LS swapping. Fucking LS swap the fucking Mustang and piss off every Ford fucking cultist out there that you threw a fucking Chevy motor inside of the Mustang. I simply don't fucking care about the 5.0 platform. I respect it. I respect you guys for having it. You know, if I were to see a 5.0 dropped into one of these older Mustangs, I'd be, oh shit, that's pretty cool. But you know, at the end of the day, everybody does it. It's just a matter of if you have the money and the time to do it. Hell, if I wasn't buying some of the stupid shit I'm purchasing right now in life, I could probably literally put all that money and probably have a 5.0 swap in this car as we speak. But will I do it? No, because I want to actually build the 4.6. No, you did not hear me say I want to build the 5.0. No, take that back. But yeah, it's just like politics. Whether or not you're team fucking red or team fucking blue, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. Everybody's always trying to convince the other side to join their side and why their side is better than their side. You know, it's no different from this. And it goes back to that whole tribalism thing that I've also mentioned. If you ain't part of the sheep and you ain't part of the collective, then you are the odd man out. But yeah, guys, I think that's going to do it for the video. Let me know what you guys think. Those of you that are also getting bullied by the 5.0 community. Like I said, I respect the 5.0. I respect every engine platform within the Ford community. Hell, even outside of the Ford community, I really don't care at the end of the day what your choice of preference is. This is kind of a follow-up video, I guess, from my previous video on the Mustang to kind of clear the air of how I feel about the 5.0 community and my opinion and my stance on it, and to let you guys know that I'm just neutral with it. At the end of the day, I'm completely neutral with it. I don't care what platform you want at the end of the day. But I'm more curious about what you guys think about the 5.0 versus 4.6 community, what your experiences are, whether you're from the 5.0 community or the 4.6 community, because I'm sure at the end of the day, everybody's bullying each other over something so petty as a motor platform, right? But let me hear what you guys think in the comment section below. You guys have a good rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.